It's April, which means it's time for another episode of Nick Madness 2018 Character Edition. I'm Casey.
And I'm Ashley. Last time, when that still made sense, we discussed the Elite 8 results of Nick Madness and previewed the Final 4 matchups.
Yeah, next week we'll be back to our usual It's Friday Night intro. But for now, we are still in this is, I guess, our last Nick Madness episode, which is nuts. Next week we will have our championship episode, where we pick an episode based around the champion of Nick Madness. So we're back to episodes next week. You won't just have to hear us pretend to be analysts and fail at it. We've had a lot of fun with this, but I don't know about you, Ashley. I'm about ready to get back to our usual format.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dig back into the shows. It's been a while. We've talked a lot about the characters, but it's been a while since we've seen them in action. So I'm dying to get back to some high-quality Nicktoons.
And we'll have brand new hot takes about characters like Danny Phantom and Helga, and, just like with Jimmy Neutron after last season, where we had to bring up the results over and over again for like a year.
Yeah.
This week, we'll be talking about the Final Four results, which are in. It was nuts. We'll have a prediction bracket, basically a final update. We'll have a final update next week, because a few things can change point-wise, but the places are pretty much set in stone.
No, I actually
now.
think... Okay, yeah. Total points can change. Standings cannot.
Yeah, so it's all just the degree to which certain people win by at this point. We will preview our championship game, which is, spoiler alert, an Avatar Bowl. It's going to be really intense. I love that we have two characters from the same show in this championship.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one to talk out, and I'm not so sure on what's gonna happen here, but we'll dig on into it. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FNN_podcast. We will have 4-day poll for the championship, so plenty of time to get that vote in, but that's where you'll find that bad boy. As well as Facebook.com/FNN podcast. You can also check out our YouTube page and review us on Apple Podcasts so that others can find the podcast and, join the craziness that is our show.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My hashtag Friday Night Nickloons. Cam, thank you so much for anticipating our meme. If you guys remember, in our episode that we released last week, we asked you guys to make memes related to the Final Four matchups. Moments after we finished recording, Cam sent us 2 mashup images. And we still think you have our phones tapped, Cam, so we're a little sketched out, but mostly impressed.
And also the Danny Zuko was just so beautiful. I shed a tear.
I know, how did we miss that? Danny Zuko was the left side of the bracket Final Four game. Just, it was right there in front of us the whole time. So a wonderful Grease meme mixed with Nicktoons. Musical theater, Nicktoons, my life, basically. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood.
Alright, so yeah, let's just jump right into it. This is a pretty short set of results here, right? We've only got the 2 games. I'm going to start out with what I think is the less interesting one. Aang beat out Squidward 72% to 28%. The only thing I think is really interesting here is how similar that was to the SpongeBob results, right? I think that's like a 4% spread or something from...
Yeah, you're right. So Squidward didn't do a whole lot worse than SpongeBob did against Aang. I guess it makes sense. Fans of the shows will vote along party lines, so to speak.
Yeah, but I guess for me, I would definitely vote for SpongeBob before I would vote for Squidward against any of these characters, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So,
but I guess the Avatar love was enough to overcome the SpongeBob love in both rounds.
I suppose so. I guess it was more surprising to me. I felt like if you were on the fence between SpongeBob and Aang, Squidward you would definitely not be on the fence for. I guess it's that the SpongeBob fans are equally as strong, it seems. That if they voted for SpongeBob, they'd also vote for Squidward because they just really love that show. Who knows?
Right. Well, and also Squidward's elimination marks the total elimination of SpongeBob as a show from this tournament, which had 4 characters in it, up there with the one of the most. So, Sandy eliminated right away, and then SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward all hanging on to the Elite Eight or deeper. Squidward all the way to the Final Four, who no one but Ray anticipated. Once again, good call, Ray. Ray did text me just as I requested, and they said, people relate to Squidward as adults. You start to become more attached to him as opposed to SpongeBob, and I think that's true, and I think that's part of why people voted for him.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some validity, and I mean, would not have been my guess, but obviously they were right, so props to you on that one, Ray. Yeah, I guess, again, the only things I think there are to say there is that's kind of interesting, and also that wide margin we've got makes me feel like Aang's really got a strong shot in this finale here.
I think so too, and it still baffles me that no one picked Aang to win it all. We had 4 people predict Prince Zuko to win the entire thing, so that's pretty interesting that 4 people can get those championship. And even if you don't win it all, it's kind of exciting to know that you got the champion right. So again, those other champions that were selected were SpongeBob, Patrick, Nigel, Helga, Tommy Pickles, Katara, Carl Weezer, and Sokka. So lots of diversity. There was a Sokka, there was a Katara, there was no Aang.
That's
Fascinating
surprising to
stuff.
me. And there is still, again, given that if Aang wins, nobody will have gotten the champion right. 0 people will have guessed the most popular character, right? That's just
Right.
wild.
So yeah, I'm impressed with Squidward's 28%. He lost big, but Squidward came so much farther than most people anticipated. So good for Squidward. And this was the first time I didn't vote for Squidward, as I'm railing on him. We looked last time. Squidward had the easiest path to the Final Four after some of the big guns in Conference D went down to other characters. Squidward was able to have the higher seed most of the way through. Beating Timmy Turner was an upset for sure, but he then went to face yet another 2 seed against Aang and went down. So why don't we head over to the left side of the bracket now?
Yeah, and this one, again, is a little more interesting to me. It ended being less close than it started, but Prince Zuko won with 58% of the vote versus Danny Phantom's 42% of the vote. And a couple of places in there, that was looking too close for comfort, and I truly just did not expect this to be that close.
Yeah, for like the entire first 24 hours, it was really like 52-48. It was hovering. Danny Phantom was winning for a little bit. It was just a very brief moment, but Prince Zuko then on day 2 took the lead and only grew from there.
Yeah, but again, it's still not a huge spread. I don't know, I expected this to be a stronger destruction of Danny Phantom. I do think I think people just like Danny Phantom a lot more than we understand.
Right. I really thought for a moment there, like, wow, Danny's gonna win this entire tournament, isn't he?
I thought it was a possibility. I really did. He's just, like I said, I don't have anything against Danny. And I think we saw the same thing with the show. Just, I don't know. He just doesn't. I guess the only guess that I could have is if you don't watch, or if you never watched Avatar at all, you're probably more likely to still know who Danny Phantom is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, it baffled me. And
But-
Danny did not have an easy path here. He wiped out Helga. He wiped out Azula. You could say Conference A was probably the easiest to win of all of, like, the weakest characters, the top seeds being Tommy, Helga, Danny Phantom, Lois, and Azula. But still, Danny got to the Final Four. He clearly earned it. People like him. People respect him. I have to say, this was a very interesting Final Four, and to reiterate from last week, my dad was the only one who got 3 out of 4. Everyone else got 2 or fewer.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. which wasn't enough for him to win out, but 4th place is not too shabby. So I guess
Especially where he was after the first few rounds. My dad was in the 20s very early.
which just goes to show you how much those late games matter.
Absolutely.
I guess final hot take. If I had to put my money somewhere, it would be on Aang right now. That's just my
Really?
thoughts. And
See, I still think Zuko's gonna win.
I just don't know.
I know Aang has breezed through pretty much every game, and Zuko has had some tougher matches, but I don't know. Zuko seems to be the takeaway character from Avatar. You walk away going, "Wow, he was a great character." Aang is great too, but he's your more typical protagonist who is, good and good-hearted but flawed. I think Aang's an incredible protagonist. But I think Zuko beats him out because his story is just more complicated.
I think
But then Aang lost all of his family too, which is a really complicated arc as well.
if we're talking about where my vote goes, that's a very different question, right? But I don't know, just and I could be wrong here. I feel like SpongeBob would outperform Danny Phantom if we put them head to head. And Zuko won with a smaller margin against Danny than Aang did against SpongeBob, and that's my metric here.
Yeah, I think it was close enough where that doesn't hold a ton of weight for me. Plus, I think Danny had a much better chance of making it than Squidward. I think
No, I'm
Aang
talking
would have
SpongeBob.
performed. Oh, I see.
SpongeBob had 32% versus Danny Phantom's 42%, so that's still a 10%
I
spread.
think people got burned out on SpongeBob just like we did.
I don't know. I just don't know. This is just my bet. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'd put my money on Aang if I had to put it somewhere.
I will say I'm personally thrilled with this championship. I will have no issue whoever wins.
Oh,
I think
for sure.
either are deserving, and I think fans, you made the right call here.
Yeah.
There were some missteps along the way, in my opinion, but
there always are.
we arrived at two of the best Nick characters of all time.
Agreed, for sure. All right, do we want to move on to I guess, yeah, really the final real deep dig into this prediction log. The only points left are from the championship game, and they're only the top 4 people, so nobody can move rank.
Right. So I win. Let's just get that over with right away. I have one Nick Madness, which I'm a little disappointed about. Like, I'm happy that I got it right, but would have been nice to have a listener win. But Ray will be in second by 3 points no matter what happens. Major props to Yesenia, who struggled through the first half, but now is the only one, along with me, who predicted the championship perfectly, Prince Zuko versus Aang. Yesenia and I both had Prince Zuko winning, so Yesenia could win out these last 3 games, which is a lot of points. 64 points total, to be exact. Then we have my dad in fourth, who got Prince Zuko right. He had Zuko facing Timmy Turner in the championship, but he has Zuko winning, so my dad can end up with 125 points to my 152, again, if Zuko wins. But because the only people with a champion alive picked Prince Zuko, the point spread won't change. The only thing that'll happen is the top 4 will propel above 5th and down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I said the only
Like right now,
people left who can get points are first, second, third, and fourth. So
Yes.
they will stay in first, second, third, and fourth. They will either all gain 32 points or none of them will gain 32 points, but they're all stacked at the top. So no one's moving. Point totals are
Yep.
changing, but I find that less interesting than the standings anyways. So we'll probably have a quick shout out to who gained points. But yeah, no, Casey's
Right.
going to win. Ray's going to be in second. Yesenia third. Casey's dad at fourth. Toasty fifth. We can keep going down, but the ranking's the same as last week, so.
Yes, you're right. Nothing's changed.
Oh, actually,
Shout out to
did Dylan beat me out?
Yeah, Dylan jumped ahead of you because Dylan S. predicted Prince Zuko in the finale, so He is the only one outside of the top 4 to get any of the championship correct.
Yeah, and then I end up in 7th, which I'm okay with that. That's still top 3rd, you know? I can live with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was really interesting how the standings changed throughout the week. The different championship matchups, let's take a moment to appreciate some of these now that we can talk about them. We had me and Yesenia picked an Avatar Bowl. My friend Courtney picked an Avatar Bowl as well, but with Katara and Sokka. Oh, so did Norbert. So they both had Katara and Sokka against
Crazy
each
number
other.
of Helga Patakis in the finale, considering
Yes.
how pretty quickly
Early
she got
was
wrecked.
knocked off. Yeah, she didn't even make the Elite 8.
And she's
But
here
we have
1,
a lot
2,
of,
3,
a
4,
lot of
5, 6,
I'll bet
7
the
times.
most predicted one, like in terms of matchup, was Patrick and SpongeBob, though, right?
See,
Maybe
1,
Helga
2,
SpongeBob.
3. Looks like 3 Patrick SpongeBobs and 1, 2.
Oh, 3 Helga Arnolds.
Yeah, and again, Arnold didn't even make it particularly far either, right? He got knocked out
Not
by...
at all. Yeah.
I forgot who.
Even earlier than Helga.
Yeah. So, rough times.
We had a
all
Helga
around.
versus Grandpa Phil from Cameron.
Had a...
What did Cam had Helga and Arnold. Patricia had Helga and Arnold.
Yeah, the vast majority of the brackets got these just wrong, which I guess statistically checks out, right? Like, you'd have to get
Yeah,
all the
makes
games
sense.
before it, right? So,
But it is interesting just how many people had the championship be from the same show. Like, how many people did that? I did. Yesenia, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the 23 brackets had the championships being people of the same show. That's pretty cool.
that is pretty cool. Another quick congrats here. I do just want to give it out to Toasty, who, even though he got both of the championship members wrong and the champion wrong, 5th place is pretty good. You know, he must
Yes,
have really
it is.
rocked it in the early points. I'm just saying, like,
Well, he did. Remember, he was in second
Yeah.
place to Ray for like the entire tournament.
so that's pretty solid. That means that, you know, if weightings were different or whatever, but and I'm not saying they should be, but I'm just saying, you know, that probably number of games wise, Toasty really killed it. So just, you know, props to you for
Yeah, I'll bet
sticking that out.
Toasty wins if every game was worth 1 point.
Yeah, he very well might have. He might have won the most matches.
Yeah, maybe we'll run that
Just
later
for the
and
fun
talk
of
about
it.
that next week. Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. I'm okay with it because trivia wins are the real wins. I do have a
Ooh, fighting words.
I do have a fun thing coming to Casey because I'm not too big of a jerk to admit when I've lost here, guys. It's been a lot of fun, and
What's-
I've said since day one,
What?
I'm okay with Avatar winning out because I think it should, but I didn't think that it would. So,
Well, I think you were saying something nice, Ashley. It's kind of hard to hear you from all the way down in 7th place, but
all right, look, Casey.
you're way down there, so I'm gonna need you to like turn your mic up
You
or
know,
something.
it turns out that these orders are actually cancelable within 24 hours, so have fun with your nothing.
Oh, well, I hope you feel really guilty every time you look at your awesome painting I got you. You're bold and brash.
More like belongs in the trash.
Oh, you're talking about your bracket predictions?
All right, Luck. If you want to trash mine, then you're trashing most of the people who entered, and that's just
No,
rude.
only yours, because I hold you to a higher standard.
So you're saying that our fans aren't bright enough to be able to understand the Nicktoons, that we haven't instilled them with the proper knowledge to make wise predictions, Casey?
Oh, you sure did turn this on me, didn't you?
This is why.
Oh,
This
man.
is the political smear campaigns in the future between me and Casey. It's gonna go down.
Ashley Wittenkeller hosts a Nicktoon podcast, but can't get higher than 7th place in her own competition.
What did you end up getting last year, actually? I don't even remember.
I did not do well. I think I was like right in the middle of the brackets. I think we had a similar amount of brackets last time. And I'm pretty sure I was like 9th or 10th.
I was gonna say, I know I did slightly better than you. Like, I didn't do particularly well, but I know I was like a couple ahead of you, so.
Yeah, we were both like middle of the road.
Yeah. Anyways, guys. Thanks everybody seriously for getting your brackets together.
For submitting and for the memes, and just the discourse through all of this has been really fun, and it stayed civil, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and if any of you guys listening have any ideas for what we could do in the future, what do we do? We have an entire calendar year to think this through, so, we'll...
Allie had a great idea of pairings.
Oh, like
not couples, but like pairs of characters
like Patrick
together.
SpongeBob kind of a deal?
Yeah, Patrick SpongeBob, Gerald, Arnold, stuff like that.
I can get behind that.
I kind of love it.
Because
I kind of love it, so
that's
in the running.
That does differentiate from, you know what? I like that idea. We'll keep playing with it, but I think that's a solid idea that's different. We'd obviously
make it like a 16 again.
I was going to say we'd have fewer seeds, but I think that's okay. All right, I think
we could include Katara Sokka in that one.
That's true. Yeah, we could get the sibling thing going.
Phil and Lil. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually... I like that a lot.
Thank you, Allie, for the idea. We'll ruminate on that. And please keep... Allie or anyone, keep sending us more ideas. Nothing is off limits right now of things we can put in a bracket against each other because we love this stuff. Our lizard brains just love it.
Yeah,
so.
And that way maybe I can beat Casey out in a year. So I think maybe we got to get some kind of a bracket together, Casey. Who knows? We'll see. No promises one way or another, but all right. I think we've talked this to death now. We'll have to wait and see for a little bit to get all these results. It is a 4-day poll. We'll talk about that more in the conclusion, but we do have some time again for everyone to get those votes in to really get a good sized population vote in here.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's head over to that conclusion. Okay, so this week we will once again have no Twitter poll. We'll be back to your regularly scheduled Twitter polls next week once we have episodes again. Saturday, April 7th begins the voting for the championship. You're not going to want to miss this one, guys. It's a 4-day poll, but vote as early as you can so you don't forget. Retweet the poll. We want to break. We had over 1,000 votes in the championship last year. I think we can break that. So keep retweeting it and voting in it. It's going to be great.
And next week, since we'll have that championship all figured out, we will have an episode centering that character. We know it'll be from Avatar. It'll be more centered around that character. It's likely that both Prince Zuko and Aang will show up, and I'll say it now, I'll remind you guys then, it will not be spoiler-free. The last time we did Avatar, which was episode 10, we specifically did sort of a spoiler alert there too. It's really hard to do this show and capture the characters well without spoiling it. And I do think that it's such an amazing show that if you haven't seen it, maybe tune out for next week. But we'll be back again.
Or start watching it now. You can binge it in a week.
That's true.
You'll make it.
That's true.
It's
get in on it now.
Get
ready for the hype.
You can watch the whole thing in like a day if you really set your mind to it.
I mean, Casey brings up a better point. Start binging now.
The second we're done, the second you hear that little Nick jingle. Alright guys, social media blast. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. Twitter poll will be happening on Twitter, obviously, although Facebook has polls now, so maybe we should start doing like different Facebook polls just for fun. I don't know. We'll play around with that.
All that being said, we'll stay tuned and keep watching those polls, and thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.